artificial intelligence at home as or at work? Anybody? Got a few people here. So let me rephrase the question. How many of you are actually successfully using artificial intelligence at home or at school or at work? A little bit. How many of you are actually afraid that artificial intelligence is going to come take your job? Or are you afraid that you're going to find a job because AI is already taken? When I talk about artificial intelligence, I'm not actually talking about this futuristic AI like Terminators or something, some AI that's going to send cyborgs back into the past to kill Sarah Connor, in the Judgment Day. Instead, what I'm talking about is artificial intelligence that we already have today, and we do. We have a lot of artificial intelligence that's out there available. We have some companies, myself and a partner back here, we actually have some that are actually building artificial intelligence and utilizing it in real-world aspects. If you're actually active on social media, I'm not. I hate social media. I know a lot of people love it. And if you are active on social media, I guarantee you've already interacted with AI at some point, whether it's a bot that's having a conversation with you or if it's on the back end. There's a lot of AI that runs there that's constantly monitoring your data, and it will actually correlate your data with other users to find out, find patterns and anomalies in that data. It can figure out what your likes are or what your dislikes are. It can actually target you for specific ads. You have to bear with me, I have had a cold this week, so I'm losing my voice already. But it's not just the data itself that companies are interested in, they also care about the metadata. So, when you post and the frequency in which you post, those are important data pieces that a lot of companies are interested in, but it's way too much data for companies to sit there and dig through it. I mean, they have a lot of analysts that will monitor the stuff and they'll check the charts and things, but there's still way too much data to correlate. If I was to take and try to figure out the likes and behaviors of every person in this room, it could take me a month to do that, or probably longer. But AI, it can do it instantly. All I have to do is basically click a button that can actually go out there and monitor everybody's data. It can dig through your backgrounds and find out things that you like and things that you did in the past and compare it to things you're doing now. It can even make forecasts on things that you're gonna like, so I can actually target more and new things to you. So when I talk about artificial intelligence, also one of the things, or my favorite quote that always comes to mind, is the one that is from the guy that we consider the father of information theory, which is called Claude Shannon. The quote goes, "I visualize how we will be to robots what dogs are to humans, and I'm rooting for the machines." And I'm sure that other people were probably like me. I root for the machines most of the time too. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but it's the way I am. So, and apparently somebody else likes rooting for the machines also. So, hello, my name is Lucas Darnell, and I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Lucus Labs based in Indigo. We are a company that designs technologies, like I said, for artificial intelligence, among other things. We are an R&D company, so we're always constantly trying to push the envelope and learn new technologies and figure out how to use this stuff for real-world purposes. Like I said, we're not looking to build a Skynet that's going to send cyborgs back, but we do want to produce AI that can actually be used for some of the jobs that we already have today, and even new jobs that we're going to have in the future. I spoke with some ladies over here earlier about the pitfalls or the scares that I have of AI in the real world, and the biggest scare that I have is, first off, the biggest scare is that people are misinterpreting AI. They really don't know what it is. I'm an AI researcher, I don't know what it is, and if anybody tells you that they have a pin down and they know exactly what artificial intelligence is, they're lying to you. They don't know it any more than the next guy does. A lot of people also don't realize that the technologies that we're using in artificial intelligence these days are actually the same technologies, the same algorithms, the same processes, the same everything that were designed back in the 1950s and 60s. As an example, neural networks were actually built in the 1950s, but it hasn't been until here recently where people were getting into what they call deep learning with big data, and they're utilizing these neural networks to do that processing for them. So to give you an example of one of the places that we actually utilize neural networks, around the beginning of 2012, I was working for a large manufacturing company here in Georgia, and we were working on a project that was the central repository for all the products. And this application knew everything about the products, everything from concept and idea all the way to what the market's going to think about it, to how it's going to be built on the shop floor, even all the way to its end of life. And with this project, I mean, you can imagine, it was not a automobile company, but I do have cars here to kind of illustrate the purpose or the point of this. But with this, I mean, they had thousands of SKUs in their product in the database, and it produced a lot of data for us to do something with. And with me having a passion about artificial intelligence, I want to figure out how can I build something to utilize all that data and do something to improve this process. Because this project was under the purview of the R&D department, and it was their job to come up with those new ideas, and it can take up to 6 months for a guy to come up with one single idea for a new product. And once they come up with an idea, they have to go do market research, and is there a market fit, and how we're going to manufacture it, how much money are we going to make off of it. There's a lot of stuff that went into that, but we had all that data already for all the products in the database. We had that. So what I did was actually took, and don't worry, this is only a semi-technical slide I'm going to show today. If you do want to get into the technical pieces of stuff or anything I've discussed today, I'll be glad to do that afterwards. But again, this is for illustration purposes. But what I did was actually took the data from the database and actually fed it into the first neural network and trained it on there. And I was able to basically reproduce every single product in the database. So that neural network learned all those processes, all the raw material, all the everything that went into building those products, and it could generate those same products. Well, then what I would do is in the middle, I'd kind of tweak and tune the weights and thresholds just a little bit. So I'm basically altering those products just a little bit, and I'll take that information and feed it into a second neural network. Well, that neural network would train on that first data, or the data coming out of the first neural network, and as it would actually generate entirely new product ideas. And it was cranking out over 2 million new product ideas every night on my laptop. And with compute power where it is today, I could probably generate those same 2 million products on my electric toaster. I'm probably doing the same amount of time it actually takes to toast bread. But it was interesting because we were producing 2 million new product ideas every night on just on a single laptop. Whereas, like I said, the guys in R&D, it would take them 6 months to come up with one new idea. And that was kind of the beginning of where I started realizing that this is, using artificial intelligence, it is becoming a threat to people in their jobs. And of course, obviously, I made a lot of friends there in R&D. They're all concerned that, hey, I'm coming for their job. It's not me necessarily, it is the technology that's doing it. But the idea was not to actually replace those workers. It was actually intended to augment their job. So instead of taking 6 months to come up with a new idea, I want to make it faster to where all they would do is come in the next day, they would sort through the list, they'd pick out the ideas and products that they like the best, and then they would take that and do market research. And even then, we build in the capability to do market research for them. It could actually go out on social media and figure out, does this product, would it fit in this area, in this location of the country, or with this group, with this demographic. We also built in the capability of controlling the output of the new product ideas. We didn't want just something completely random. I don't want to go from a car on the left over to a Flintstone car. Well, maybe Flintstone's what I was looking for. That was the intended output. But in the product, or the case that we were working on at that company, we wanted to control the output. So we could actually pass in rules and process our parameters into the second neural net that says, for all new products that come out of this thing, it has to have X fewer raw materials. It has to have X% lower cost. It has to have X% less waste. So that way we could, again, control the output when new ones come out. And we know it's going to be a good product. And we can also make sure it's not something that's already in the first data set that we actually trained on. But it goes both ways. And we could actually take the data from the new neural network, pass it back into the second neural network, and do it all over again. And I know I'm getting technical into this, so excuse me for doing that. But this type of neural network would be considered one of the generative adversarial networks that we have today, or most people call them GANs. And today, that's par for the course. Everybody uses some sort of neural network to do that kind of stuff, whether it's GANs or recurrent neural networks, convolutional neural networks, or any of the other technologies. They're using that stuff today. Again, I could download that stuff on my electric toaster, which I actually have machine learning running on my toaster at my house, which my wife is not a fan of, so I have an understanding wife. Don't do that. But she does, she gets along with it, she understands I'm a geek, so I'm going to build this kind of stuff and do weird stuff. But as we do that, and we have this compute power that's capable of processing all these numbers and doing these cool things, we can actually start leveraging that same technology to do other things and use it in places that most people aren't using, and doing things that they're not thinking about today. So with the GANs that I mentioned a minute ago, and even with this neural network, like I said, that stuff is par for the course today. The neural net I built back in 2012, even though the technology itself was built in the 1950s, that was state of the art. That was something that most companies had not seen. And I actually showed that to lots of other companies that are like, yeah, we want that. We want that to generate new products for our company, because they have the same dilemma. It takes time. When people get in here and they're trying to do stuff, do research, and learn the different products and what's going to work in the market, what's going to be accepted, what's not, it takes time, and companies don't have that kind of time. They want something that's going to get it right away. So fast forward a couple of years from there, and I was actually working for a big company. It's an enterprise software company out Silicon Valley. I worked for these guys for about 7 years. I was the chief innovation officer, and I was in charge of the R&D department in the company. We actually call it the Smart Kitchen. And we're always coming up, same thing we're doing here at Lucus Labs. We come up with new product ideas using artificial intelligence and to decide how is this technology going to impact businesses around the world. And during that time, I actually got to travel around the world, and I was always, sometimes I'd be in like 2 or 3 different countries in the same week. And even though it's a lot of travel, it afforded me the opportunity to meet a lot of people, a lot of companies, and work on a lot of different projects. And I was always working on projects with AI specifically, and the number one thing that I realized was the problem was that these guys, like I mentioned a minute ago, they had no idea what they were doing. They got some guy over here in IT, he thinks he knows it all, he thinks he understands artificial intelligence, and he just has it down pat, and he's like, this is what it's gonna be, this is what we're gonna do, this is how much money we're gonna make off this thing, and they would fail. 99% of the time, those companies would fail, and that's why they would bring in other companies like ours to kind of bring in, I'm not saying we're the experts by any means, but I am saying that this is what we do. We research and we develop these artificial intelligence technologies to save other people the trouble of having to do that. And these companies I was working with around the world, they didn't have that in-house expertise. So they were trying to figure out how can we apply an artificial intelligence like a neural network that's been around from the 1950s. How do we apply that to our real world use case and solve the problems and the business needs that we have today? Unfortunately, those guys were learning or hearing about artificial intelligence by all these fancy marketing guys and salesmen that can pitch anything and they can sell you the moon and convince you there's this one-size-fits-all that can drive your self-autonomous car or analyze thousands of legal and health documents in a millisecond, stuff that can control your smart devices, or even still beat you at a game of chess or Go. And those technologies do exist, but they're not all together. There's not a single product that can do all that stuff. Instead, they're individual technologies that have to be separated and used for the individual purposes they want. As an example, if you have a self-driving car, you're going to have an AI that does the self-driving car. If you have something that analyzes legal and health documents, it's built specifically to do that. And these companies are still listening to what the guys in Silicon Valley and other places what they're pitching, and they're thinking, yeah, we have a Terminator, coming out next week that's going to be able to, wash your car, mow your lawn, water, feed your dog, wash your clothes, whatever, cook your dinner. That's not the truth. We are so far away from that I personally don't even worry about any of that stuff. But like I said, we do have those individual technologies that make up that Terminator type thing, and we can use that information or that technology to do other things. So at Lucus Labs, one of our companies, so you saw earlier, we're actually a technology investments research and development company. So we do actually go out and build new technologies, new companies. We also go out and acquire other companies that have products that complement our technology stack. And one of the things that we're doing now is we have a company called Symbiont Tech. And so Symbiont, and I'll get into a piece of it in a minute. So Symbiont, the word is a portmanteau of symbiotic and intelligence. So it's a combination of man and machine and also their environment, or we call it habitat. And this kind of technology is being used to actually replace what we call middle managers, or what we know as middle managers. Which is a little scary because, as we were discussing earlier, there are a lot of people that this could displace them. It could move them into another job immediately or completely replace them, and they're going to find themselves doing something entirely different. Now, earlier I asked, how many of you are actually afraid of AI coming to take your job? Some of you raise your hands, but when I pose this question to other people in other settings, the majority of the time, office workers, they don't raise their hand. They think they have nothing to worry about. They're like, no, I'm not scared, unless Terminator walks in and shoots me or something, I don't care. But they do. They need to worry about this stuff because we're already seeing AI replacing people like that. We're seeing them like recruiters. They're constantly being replaced already with an AI, and I've actually built some of these myself. These technologies can go out, they can scour the internet, they can find potential candidates, they can engage in conversations, they can perform background checks, they can review applications and resumes, they can select applicants, schedule interviews, they can even hire and fire employees. And again, it's a scary world to think about when this kind of stuff happens. We're also seeing, the technologies, we are actually developing these technologies that can actually go out and analyze thousands or even millions of legal documents. They can actually calculate the likelihood of a person being found guilty in court or not. They can actually go out and analyze medical data and figure out, is this person susceptible to some sort of disease or some sort of illness? And if they are, can we actually identify and locate a cure for it before they even have it in the first place? And I'm sure you guys have probably seen the Watson where they did the same thing, and these technologies are making that possible. Because as I mentioned before, these are replacing people's jobs. They're replacing doctors, they're replacing paralegals, they're replacing nurses, they're replacing, I mean, also you have to have a nurse or a doctor actually go on site and perform the medical procedure that needs to happen today. Tomorrow you might not. Back when I went to Georgia Tech, back in 2001, we were actually working on the Da Vinci, which is a big surgical machine that goes in, has, does the surgery, has doctors on the other side of the country. They're monitoring the system and seeing how it works and making sure it does what it's supposed to. But you could literally click a button on this and that will perform the entire surgery for you. So this technology could actually replace an entire doctor. The AI technologies that we're doing, again, it replaces the nurses, it replaces the people doing the research to find out what medications out there that can be effective. I don't know if you saw this week, or it might have been last week, that Zantac actually was pulled from on the shelves of all the Walgreens, the CVS, and all Walmarts, places like that, because now it was AI that actually found out that medication, the Zantac heartburn medication, can actually cause cancer. And again, it was an artificial intelligence that figured that out. It wasn't some researcher sitting in a room somewhere digging through the documents. It was a computer that actually did that. So as I mentioned, we do have this company, it's called Symbiont Tech, and we do build technologies that target middle managers. And it's not necessarily to target middle managers, again, it's to help augment those guys, and it's intended to help frontline workers. So anybody that's on their feet and doing things, whether it's construction workers or shop floor workers, it could even be restaurant workers. So you have employees that are on their feet doing stuff that they need their hands. So they need to work a machine, or they need to flip a burger, or they need to do whatever it is. Those are the kinds of people that our technology at Symbiont wants to target. We want to be able to put a technology in their hands, or actually in this case, it puts it in their ear. So we have this, not necessarily a chatbot like Amazon Echo or Google Home, but it is a technology that can communicate with employees. Again, whether it's a construction worker, a restaurant, or wherever, this technology will actually speak to them and will coach them through what to do. So it's kind of like having artificial robo-boss that can speak in their ear, and the idea is that it's a manager that's going to sit here and listen to you and talk to you and communicate with you. It's going to analyze your performance and figure out what you're doing and how can I help you make that better. And it will coach you through what to do and say, well, you're doing task A over here, task B over there, task C over here, task D over there. It figures that out. Says you're spending way too much time walking back and forth, so we're going to do task A and C here, then we're going to do task B and D over there. But if it's not physically possible to do that, it will keep it the way it is, or find something else to do. For example, in car shops where you bring your car in the service department to be worked on, technology can identify that I cannot pull the dipstick from the to check your oil without popping the hood first. So it's not going to swap those things around. So it's keeping in mind the capabilities of what's possible in the physical world. It can actually again speak to you and coach you through this kind of stuff. Since I am losing my voice, I'm going to go ahead and play, if you don't mind, a quick 2-minute video that will kind of illustrate what this technology is capable of doing. It doesn't get too far into the weeds of it. Like I said, if you want to learn about the technologies, I'll be glad to discuss them with you. But we'll kind of give you an idea of what is possible with using an AI technology in the workplace.
New property manager welcomes you to the work habitat. He noticed that the crew were still working the old-fashioned way, using paper and clipboards. He purchased a mobile work system to make scheduling and tracking work easier. Now the crew always knew what, when, and where to do next. Everyone seemed happy for a while. But Kevin was disappointed that the system didn't make the work any easier, or safer, or better. Instead, the system added its own set of issues. The mobile system also didn't reduce the need for senior staff to train new hires. Kevin decides to reach out to his old pal Lucas for help. Symbiont flows lets you define steps in a concise, sequential way, making them easier to follow. Symbiont AI vocalizes the instruction, reducing the need for dedicated staff to train new hires. Listening keeps workers hands-free for their job. Symbiont AI also records the time spent to complete tasks, providing data for worker performance and scheduling improvements. With Symbiont Flows, every worker gets a co-pilot. Symbiont Flows goes beyond what most mobile workforce and facility management systems do. It guides workers through repeatable processes, resulting in higher productivity, consistency, and safety.
Okay, so in this case, I mean, we are, like I said, we're using artificial intelligence kind of as a artificial robo-boss or a digital assistant, as a lot of people like to call it. And the idea, again, is to help, not necessarily replace middle managers, but to augment middle managers and to do more for them and to allow them to be in more places at all times. As an example, my brother drives a truck for a living. And with this kind of technology, this could actually be his middle manager. So this could actually, schedule his loads, it can monitor his traffic, it can reroute him in the event of delays, it can pull and analyze his driving logs, it can assist with troubleshooting his truck in an event he breaks down on the side of the road, and it never sleeps. It's an artificial system, it's always going to be there, it's always running, and not just for my brother, but also for the other people, for the other drivers. And with this, my brother is concerned about losing his job as a driver. He's concerned that autonomous trucks are going to come take his job. And when I had this conversation with my brother and other people in the same industry, I was like, well, my boss tells me that when the autonomous trucks get here and I lose that job, I can go work on the docks and I can actually be the person to load and unload the trucks. That's not happening either. These guys are being replaced already by robots. I've been to the Amazon Fulfillment Center up in Chattanooga, and they have robots that will come and load the trucks and take stuff off the trucks. There's no people standing there. There's not somebody that's watching that robot making sure, yeah, he's doing his job, or that one's not, I'm gonna go unplug, That's not happening. These people are being replaced entirely by artificial intelligence technologies. And then these guys, even my brother, he said, well, if that happens and I lose my job to an autonomous truck, I could actually become a dispatcher. I'm the guy on the radio that's talking to the drivers, and I'm the one that's scheduling their loads and routing traffic and all that stuff. This technology already does that. If we're building it, everybody else is building the same kind of stuff. So this technologies are coming for people's jobs, whether they like it or not. Another company that we have is called Pterosaurs. We just acquired this company earlier, I think January or February of this year, and it's an ag tech company, so they actually design technologies, whether it's hardware or software, they do both, that can actually monitor farms. And a lot of people, when you think about farms, they think it's a simple job. Ask any farmer, they'll tell you farming is not a simple job. I mean, it's brutal, it really is. What we do at Pterosaurs is we actually utilize these AI technologies. We'll take sensors and plug them in the ground and around crops and other things. We can actually analyze and monitor those crops. We even have technology that just using a webcam, we can look at that, look at the crop, and we can determine its health just based on the camera itself. We know is that crop healthy or not. And this is using artificial intelligence to monitor this stuff and to dig through that data and find out, is this real data, or is this plant alive, is it healthy, has it been overwatered, does it need more water, what's the pH, what's the salinity, and it does all these fancy things. And what that allows us to do is it actually empowers these farmers to do a lot more. Farmers, I mean, they have a rough life, they really do, a rough job. I mean, they're out here at 4 o'clock in the morning starting to dig crops and check on crops and do a lot of things, so they need something else to help them. Now, there are already being technologies developed that can actually go out and harvest the crops. We've had those for decades. Now they are starting to see technologies that can actually go out and plant crops. There's a company, I'm not allowed to say their name, but there is a company that can actually grow an entire garden, an entire farm for you autonomously, and it's all based on artificial intelligence. It even has cameras that can move around and use computer vision to determine where there are weeds popping up, and it can identify a weed and actually has its arm to go out and kind of pop out those the weeds, and if there's bugs or other things on the crops, it can actually do that. It controls every bit of it 100% autonomously. And what we're doing with this is we're trying to actually, what we say, make the dirt smart. A lot of people don't think that dirt is a fun industry to work in, but when you start applying artificial intelligence to it, it really does become fulfilling. You learn a lot of stuff about your farm, about your dirt, about your crops. Before we got this company, I didn't care one bit about a garden or farming or any of that stuff. I'll admit it. But now I have my own garden. I have artificial intelligence that's monitoring that thing, thankfully, because if it's left up to me, everything would die. But everything is just flourishing because the artificial intelligence can look at it and figure this stuff out, and it sees that, yeah, this plant is not healthy. It's not being watered enough. I'm going to add more water, or I'm going to apply some sort of fertilizer or do something else. But what we would do is, as we combine these artificial intelligence technologies to stuff like farming, we're actually taking things to the next level for these farmers. They've been using analytics for decades, for generations and so on. They go in, they have charts and little spreadsheets and stuff they can look through and see, I know where my harvest is going to be next year. I know where it was last year. We might need to move the crop from this location to that location. But with artificial intelligence, we're basically giving these guys an artificial assistant that never sleeps. This technology is always monitoring the data and always identifying what's going on. And that frees up the farmers to go do other things. But at the same time, like I said, there are companies that have technologies that can replace an entire farm, replace all the farmers, all the employees, all the assistants, everybody. And for me, that's become a scary world, because what is it that we're gonna do? What are the people gonna be left to do in terms of jobs? My brother is not gonna, all of a sudden start learning to play piano and paint pictures and or become a teacher or anything like that. It's not gonna happen. He drives a truck for a living. That's how he provides for his family. And if we're replacing his job, he's going to be out. He's going to be hurting for money and trying to find something else to do. And that's the way it is with farmers and a lot of other industries as well. It's not moving here. Oh, sorry. Turned my clicker off by accident. Didn't realize it. So a lot of people, they call AI artificial intelligence. We don't like to do that. What we do is we actually call it actionable intelligence. Because what's happening is as that technology digs through that data, we actually combine that with the Internet of Things. If you're not familiar with it, I'd be glad to speak with you about it later. But it's the physical space. All these sensors, all these physical things that controls, the actuators and the solenoids and motors. And what we can do is, as that data comes in, again, it can figure out what I need to do, but it does it on my behalf. I don't have to be the one out there turning on the faucet, turning on the water, things like that. Instead, the system takes care of it for me, and it's all based on the data or the information coming out of this artificial intelligence system that actually feeds into our actionable system. Hopefully I still got the button working. Another place that we're actually utilizing artificial intelligence is, like I mentioned earlier, social media. If you've done anything on social media, you've interacted with a bot. We have another company called UTM, Scientific Talent Management, based out of Los Angeles, and there we're actually using artificial intelligence bots for brand management. So if you're a professional athlete and you have millions of followers, it is very time consuming and tiring to go out and keep up with what people are saying about you and to you on social media. If you're being tagged on social media, you can't go out and respond to the 10,000 comments that somebody left for you. And our bots, they can watch your social media feeds. They can actually keep up with you on the news. They can see that somebody's speaking negatively about you or you did something in the public that you shouldn't have. And it will actually go out there and engage with people that are posting these things on social media and have a conversation with them and let them know that, I see you, and kind of act on behalf of the athletes that we represent. There are other situations where we've actually used artificial intelligence like this for support staffing. So again, I'm not allowed to say the name of this company, but a few years ago I worked on a project for a video game company, and they use our bots to actually monitor their social media. So it uses natural language processing to actually parse the comments and figure out what's being said. It uses sentiment analysis to determine, is this negative news or is it positive news? If it's negative, the system would actually start dispatching or start scheduling support staff, because what they're anticipating is that they had a recent release of a new game or an update, and people are talking about there's this bug or this glitch or there's something going on with it. They know that people are going to start calling in and emailing with complaints, so the artificial intelligence can actually determine that and would schedule people to be on staff, so they know that we needed 100 people on call this week to be here to take these calls, as opposed to last week when we only needed 50. And again, this whole system could actually go out and hire and fire people. Back to what I said earlier, it could actually go out and scour the internet, find people to send out and engage conversations with them, and find out, would you be interested in this job? Send me your resume. I'm going to analyze it. If it looks good, I'm going to bring you in. And this is part, what they call in Silicon Valley, what they call gig workers. So it's the gig economy where people are just, the contractors. They have a new job that pops up, it needs to be fulfilled. They come in, they fulfill that job, and go home at the end of the day, and at the next week or the next time or the next month, that system actually identifies they need more workers. It'll go ahead and schedule them or hire them again, and it'll reenact their contract. Another place we've successfully used this is in house hunting. So a few years ago, we also built a technology, same stuff, same stack and everything, that would actually monitor social media to identify people talking about looking for a house or an apartment in New York. So this is for a real estate company, and as it would identify these things, it would engage with those people and say, hey, I see you're looking for an apartment in the Bronx or in Queens or whatever. What is it you're looking for? And we go and have a conversation with them to try to figure out what it is you're looking for, what do you need, and do we have anything in our MLS system that we can actually put you with? And if we do, then we're going to go ahead and schedule you to come out, and we'll send a realtor out, or one of our robots when we get there. It will actually send them out to have a conversation with them, let them into the house or apartment, walk them through, and show them the listing. So they actually use this technology to do lead generation. So originally it was built to just find new leads. It says, I found somebody, I think they're looking for a house or an apartment, here you go. But the technology evolved into where it could carry on an entire conversation with the customers. And at some point, the technology is not 100%, so it did have to hand it off to, a realtor. So a realtor would actually jump in, and they would actually have a conversation, carry it on, and hopefully, get that to a lead. They could actually set up and have a meeting or have a viewing of that listing for that person. There are other places we've used it for, aggregating data, marketing. Mentioned some of those things already. Fake news, obviously, is a big one that we're seeing today. So earlier this year, OpenAI had developed a technology that they started releasing bits and pieces of it that can actually go out and generate entire text. So I've actually used this. I can feed it a sentence or two, and it will go out and generate 1 or 2 paragraphs for me. There are people that are actually using this same technology to write entire books. So again, they just put in a sentence, and here's 5 or 6 pages of content. But it would give them options. It'd say, here's some that look good. What do you think? You can pick one you like the best. If you don't like it, you could rerun it and generate new content. But OpenAI have understood, they actually realized that this same technology is going to be bad for us. And that's why they're only releasing it in phases. They've given us the smallest data set possible, and then it gets a little bit bigger data set, and some new tools to go with it. But they realized, back in 2016, and even today, we're seeing fake news popping up everywhere on news, on social media. It's everywhere. This morning I saw on TV, entire commercials being generated by artificial intelligence. And it's fake news. It's because some robot somewhere, I say robot, somebody's computer was sitting there scouring the internet and finding information about somebody and taking that and producing content. For us, it's entertaining, or it can be entertaining depending on what it is you're seeing, but at the same time, it's a scary world. It's a scary thought that we don't know what is real and what's not. Is this President Trump on stage actually talking to me, or is this, a deep fake video that somebody created in their basement or wherever? But like I said, the technologies can be entertaining. So we have yet another company that we actually just spun off a few months ago, so I can't really get into the details about the technology since it's early stage, but it is for entertainment purposes. And what we do with it is similar to the technology I just mentioned from OpenAI. We have the capability of going out and learning an entire story, backstory on characters. We can learn their bios and personalities. We can learn how they speak, how they interact, what they do, how they do it. We can identify an exact person, and we can actually create stories based off of those people. So what the technology will do is, once it's been trained on those people, on those backstories and those bios, it will go out and also monitor the internet and keep up with social events and keep up with current affairs. And once it does that, it can turn around and generate an entirely new story based on that. So it could take the news that it read this morning and generate an entire story, which we can actually turn around and generate into a 3D movie. And that gets us into stuff like virtual reality and augmented reality, because that's actually going to change the way we interact with movies and entertainment. That's the way we're going to, I personally see it, and our other guys see it this way as well, but that's what's going to lead us into in the future of how we interact with entertainment. Because today you have this static 2-dimensional screen. It's on TV or big screen or even in your VR headset. It's static. It's just a movie. It never changes, never does anything different, and you can't interact with it. It's not immersive. You keep jumping there and saying, hey, I'm a character. I want to do something. If you could, then you're going to end up screwing up that storyline, and now whoever wrote the narrative, they have to go in and write a narrative for every possible outcome in that story. With our technologies, it actually makes that possible. Now you can put on a VR headset, you can jump into one of our movies, and now you're a player or a person, an actor, a character in that movie, and you can interact. If you see a story going on over here, go over there and watch that story, or go over here and watch this story, or go change the story, alter the story. You can become another character in it. And the only way we can do that is through artificial intelligence. It has to generate all these different conversations and all these different things. Because, for example, if you know this guy's going to rob a bank, and you're in the story, and you go stop him, or you call the police, in the real movie, the story ends. That guy gets caught and goes to jail at the end. Congratulations. We don't want it that way. We want it to where if you go call the police, all right, the bad guy's on his way, he sees the police, he's going to go do something different. He's going to go rob a different bank. Or he's going to rob a donut store because all the police go over the bank. And it's artificial intelligence that actually makes this stuff possible. And we do that by, again, monitoring, or not monitoring, but by mining all this personal data for all the characters, the bios, the backstories. And again, we can actually learn and identify or create characters off of this. But the same technology does go the other way. So not only can we generate characters and generate personalities, we can also pinpoint personalities. I could take and run my system against data or against text on every one of you. And every person in here, every person in the world, they have a different what they call style, and it's based on stylography, which I'm sure you guys might know of. But the way you type, or what you type, and the order you put words, and the words you select. All that stuff is basically a fingerprint for who you are. So this technology can actually pinpoint an exact person in here based on that text. And again, the only way we can do that is by utilizing artificial intelligence. I personally couldn't go in there and dig through everybody's data and figure out, okay, this is the person that wrote that story versus that person, because this goes back to fake news and deepfakes. We need the technology to find out, is this a real story? Is this President Trump really on stage or in the White House garden talking to the press, or is this some guy that created a deepfake video and he's running it? So again, it has to go both ways. For us at Vault Vision, we prefer the entertainment side of it. I love movies, I love video games, so we wanted to get into that piece to where, again, you put on your VR headset, and now you're a character in that movie or that in that video game. If you want to play Call of Duty, you can pick up a virtual gun, you can run around inside the game now. But again, somebody had to write the narrative for that story, and if you're in that character or in that movie now or that game, you're changing that narrative. And the narrative or the entire story, the environment needs to change with you. And it's just a matter of time before somebody creates the holodeck from Star Trek, and now we're all never leaving our homes, we're all in here using the system. So I'm actually looking forward to that day. We're seeing it already in technology, in like pop culture, sci-fi movies and stuff. Like if you see Ready Player One, if you read the book, you'll be familiar with the Oasis in there. It's the same kind of stuff. You put on your headset, you jump on your little treadmill in your van or whatever, and now you're a character and you're moving around and you're interacting with stuff. And again, without artificial intelligence, we couldn't do this. But it goes back to my point about people are losing jobs to AI because our technologies, if they can go and write all these stories and generate all this content for them, we don't need them. And the technology, like I said, can actually go out and monitor social media, can monitor the news to find out current events and current affairs to generate stuff based on that. So if we have something, this Ukraine thing going on with the White House, it can actually create a story based on that. And again, I don't know, is it real? Is it something that a researcher actually put together and am I reading real news? Or is it something that somebody's computer generated for me? So one of the questions I get a lot when I have these kind of talks with people is they always want to know what's driving the AI boom. They always want to know what is it that led us here and what's going to take us to the next part. Now obviously I'm sure without even showing these slides you probably realize the number one reason for this is the large amounts of data. Everybody hears it all the time. They hear about big data and data lakes. Now we have data oceans. I read a recent report that says today we generate over 2.5 quintillion bytes of data every day. So quintillion is the number one with 18 zeros after it, compared to like billion, which is the one with 9 zeros after it. That's a lot of data. That's a lot of stuff that's being generated. I also read a report that 45% of that is being generated by AI. So again, it goes back to what's real, what's not. But the point is we have big data, lots and lots of data that's being dug through that can actually figure out, the patterns and the anomalies and make predictions, make forecasts, such as, the agriculture company I mentioned earlier. That's what we're doing. We're taking that smart dirt or the data from that dirt and we're analyzing it using AI to determine, what is that crop going to look like and what do we need to improve it? How do we make it better? I did mention earlier, a lot of these technologies were built and invented back in the 1950s and 60s, and we are still using some of those same technologies, including neural networks. We're just putting more hidden layers in there, doing different things with it. We're doing stacking, we're doing back propagation, we're feeding data from the output back into the input so we can retrain on it and improve. We have LSTMs, which is long and short-term memory, which is a type of recurrent neural network. I already mentioned GANs and convolutional neural networks. But we are seeing a lot of newcomers to the industry. A lot of new researchers that are coming in with new ideas and saying, here's this algorithm you never thought of, which is awesome. When I see somebody come up with a new algorithm that we can plug it in and we can actually test it and find out the validity of this algorithm, that's Christmas morning for me. But we're also seeing a lot of people coming in and taking those other technologies that have been around for decades and they're coming up with new ways of using it. But they're also using it against new types of data. A lot of people, when I went to take my neural networks and train it against the product data and say, I'm going to generate new product ideas, I had people laugh at me. I had people call me crazy, which I am, I don't care. But they were saying that that's not what a neural network is supposed to do. It's supposed to, do OCR or, character recognition and figure out, people's writing. So they can do that for like mail. So whenever you write an address on an envelope and send it through the mail, they use OCR technology to figure out where this letter should be routed to. And that's what people thought with me, like, well, why are you using neural networks for product generation? Because I can, and it works. And again, we're seeing a lot of increased compute power. A I mean, you can run technologies, especially machine learning technologies. Yeah, you can go out and you can rent, servers from Amazon and Microsoft and Google and stuff like that. You're gonna pay a lot of money to do that. But the cool thing is that you can actually get really, really, really inexpensive hardware, or probably even, the computers you already have, they have, a GPU in there that can already crank out a lot of the stuff, and you can actually run a lot of machine learning on those devices. Again, I have an electric toaster at home where I'm running machine learning right now, which I hope is still running, and I hope my wife can come home and unplug it. But the point is that we're seeing this increased compute power where, because of Moore's Law, all this technology is improving bigger, better, faster, and it can do more and more and more. And because of that, same stuff, when I generated those 2 million product ideas on a laptop back in 2012, again, I could do the same 2 million on a toaster oven. Today, I could probably even run some machine learning on this thing, which I'm probably going to try when I get home. But, we're having this compute power that's increasing, and it makes it ubiquitous. Every single thing can be connected now. Aside from artificial intelligence, I also love the Internet of Things, which, we can connect everything. If you go to my house, you don't see it. That was by design, because my wife came on to me and said I better not see computers, in the walls and stuff. So I did hide things, but everything in there is connected. And, it can run all the same technology, and it can actually monitor my house. And we're seeing this more and more and more. But as an example, when I started doing this, or when I built my new house, I actually used a stack of Raspberry Pis. I had like 8 or 9 Raspberry Pis that was running the machine learning, because each Pi will be set up for a different zone in my house. So this one handles, the kitchen and the breakfast room and dining room. This one handles the living room, the great room, and blah, blah, blah. But then I started figuring out, as time went on, I was actually able to reduce a lot of those, because they do computer vision, they also do speech recognition, and a lot of other things. But I finally figured out that I found this device, which I'm gonna actually get into in a minute for another purpose. But inside here is a little, it's like $200 or $300 computer from NVIDIA called a Jetson. And I actually took all those Raspberry Pis and replaced them with one of these things. So I have one computer now for just a couple $100 that monitors my entire house. And it does everything from computer vision to speech recognition. It can even, control my Roombas. We can actually have little sensors under the carpet that can detect a spill or a lot of foot traffic. It says, okay, there's a lot of people walking back and forth through here, or there's a spill in this area. I need to send the Roomba over to clean it. I can't write all these rules to do all these different things. I mean, I could, but it'd take me forever to write if-then, else rules to handle all that stuff. Machine learning, it took me like an hour to train a system, train a model that could actually tell the Roomba, you need to go to this location in this spot. But again, it goes back to the point of now we're having the capability of running this machine learning technology in basically anything that we can imagine. So the last, third and fourth reasons here that we're actually seeing an AI boom is because of VC funding and R&D, which of course they go hand in hand, and they also go with the other reasons here. Because investors are actually starting to see that, if I can run, machine learning on everything or anything, I don't need this high dollar servers over here at Google and Amazon. They want to put money into that because they know they're going to get something out of that. They can also, they're starting to see that, we do have this large amounts of data. And because of that, again, I want to put some money into it. I want to get something out of it because, the VCs, they want to make money just like the rest of it. So they want to put some money into the different technologies. And it starts with R&D. So at Lucas Labs, we put a lot of money into how we actually figure out these technologies and what should we be using. We know there's not a one-size-fits-all. We know that we're not going to be building Terminators, even though I'm trying. We know that's not going to happen in our lifetimes. My lifetime, anyways. So I kind of understand that, but I do want to, invest in technologies that I can use today. I want to invest in those technologies that can control, little Roombas. I grew up on, the Jetsons and, was Lost in Space with, Will Smith and, or whatever, not Will Smith, sorry, Will Robinson, the robot and things like that. And that's what I want in my future. I want those capabilities. I want Rosie from the Jetsons walking around with a vacuum and cooking my dinner and walking my dog and things. I'm lazy, so that's probably why I want to do that kind of stuff. But that's where VCs are also getting invested here. They want to, again, put money into these capabilities because they see the future as well. They know where we're going with this kind of stuff. And again, because of increased compute power, we can do this stuff anywhere, and that means that they don't have to put in as much money. We don't have to put in $1 million to run a bunch of servers in Microsoft or Amazon or Google to do the number crunching, when we can actually run it just on a small little device. So as an example, so this little device I have here, I can again get into why I brought it. I'll show you in a minute. Well, I would show you, but I forgot power supply, but I can't talk about it. So this has an NVIDIA Jetson board, tiny little board. You can see the size. This is obviously a 30 printed case that I put it in. But Several years ago, Audi was working on their autonomous car. And you can see on the left side here, that's everything that it took to power that self-driving car. I think it was 2008-ish when they did this. And what they did was they took and they replaced every bit of it with one of these guys. And now you can see how much space they have in the car now. They don't need all that stuff, and that means they don't need a big battery or a battery bank to power all that. I can run this thing off of just a small little battery, like an 18650 or a couple of AA batteries, instead of having to drain my entire car battery to run my autonomous car. And again, it makes it ubiquitous to where we can put this stuff in everywhere. And I actually have some of these things on one of my other cars where I have a few, I don't do the whole self-driving stuff, but I do have some where I was working on a project just for fun, where I put some of those in there to do the computer vision and the machine learning to hopefully build my own self-driving car, because again, I'm lazy and I want that kind of stuff. So let me go back to actually why I brought this one. Like I said, I apologize, I forgot the power supply for it, because otherwise I would actually plug it up after this and we could go through it, we could see it. So what this does is, this is one of the little projects we're working on at Lucas Labs. It will take on one of the antennas and just kind of flood the entire area with radio signals. And just, it's wireless signals. We're actually working on, it's a custom frequency thing around the 915 megahertz range right now, but we want to get it into where we can actually embed this in your existing Wi-Fi router, not the whole thing, but the technology. And what it does is, again, it will actually flood the entire area with radio waves. The second antenna over here will actually monitor the reflection of those. And monitors the attenuation. So as the signal goes out, hits a wall or something, it comes back and bounces back. I need to measure that distance. But since it is in a omnidirectional antenna here, it has the whole 360 degrees it needs to identify. So what we're doing with that is as it floods the area, as you move around, you're making movements, whatever, this antenna can identify that, and it can monitor your movements. So I can actually pinpoint where every person is in this room, where you're at, where you're moving, how you're moving. If you stop breathing, it's actually sensitive enough to realize that you stop breathing. Because as you breathe in and out, obviously your chest goes, rises and falls, and that causes movement that can be measured by monitoring these radio signals. And again, it's artificial intelligence that we're using. I'm not going to talk about the exact technology because it is proprietary, but we actually do that using AI, where we can monitor again attenuation and the disturbance in that, the disturbance in the force, if you will. So this is a fun little project. I am considering putting the technologies on GitHub at some point so other people can play with it. But there are some other companies that are doing something similar. They're using a different list of algorithms. Again, I can't say it's just a single algorithm. There are multiple technologies that have to run to make that possible. So we are also, we know why we're seeing a lot of a big boom in artificial intelligence, but we're also seeing a lot of pitfalls in artificial intelligence. As I mentioned earlier, during my travels around the world, meeting with all these companies, working on all these good projects, I realized that the number one problem with artificial intelligence, the biggest pitfall is the people. It's not the technology. The technologies are possible, and they're inevitable. I know they're possible because I'm building them myself. Our teams are building them. We have a lot of people working on this. So I know it's happening. I know the stuff is coming, but the problem is that people don't understand it. They really don't. Even myself, I don't understand it entirely. I don't understand, I can't wrap my head around what's really going to be possible. I know what's possible today, and I'm pretty good at judging out to about 5 years, but 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, and so on. I have no clue what this stuff's going to look like. None of us do. We don't know where it's going to go, but we have a lot of people, they think they do. They'll tell you, yeah, I know exactly what it is. And here, write me a check. I'm going to go build this for you. It doesn't work that way. But we are also we're a lot further along than what we were. As an example, I showed you, Symbiont, which is kind of a digital assistant. I asked how many of you are actually using artificial intelligence in your home or at school or at work. A few of you raise your hands. And again, everybody should raise your hands because you're all interacting with it in some form or another. With digital assistants, I have an Amazon Echo in every room of my house. I'm guilty. I love the little things at times. It really scares the crap out of me when I see the little blue light spinning around on top and I didn't say Alexa. And I've actually monitored my network traffic and seen where these things are actually feeding information back to Amazon, even though I didn't say Alexa. And even though the little ring's not spinning, it's still running. It's still listening to everything going on in my house. When I'm on business calls every day, I have to, if I'm at home, I'm mute to things because little lights going around and all that data is eating my bandwidth and it's going back to Amazon. And Amazon's like, whoa, no, it doesn't do that. It's not going to do that unless you use the wake word. Bull crap. Yeah, it does. I had to write rules for my firewall to say, don't send this stuff unless you see this wake word, which kind of was a pain because obviously they encrypt this stuff. I don't know why they encrypt it because as soon as it goes to Amazon, there are people there listening to those recordings. They say they're not, and then they say, oh, you can open the app and you can opt out. I've opted out like 10 times and it still doesn't. I'm sure there's still guys at Amazon listening to me. I need to have an NDA with Amazon just so they don't, steal my ideas or have conversations that we have. But like I said, I mean, it's the understanding of the technologies or misunderstanding of the technologies that I see as the number one pitfall, and people don't understand it. We don't realize what it's capable of. We don't know what it's going to do tomorrow, what it's going to do again 15, 20, 30 years down the road. But it is going to be a fun and exciting place. Back to the digital assistants and stuff, even though, I am kind of scared about my Amazon Echoes in my house, I've actually built other technologies that are for conference rooms. So we can take one of those devices, stick it in a conference room, and it's going to listen to everything in there, which is scary on the one hand. On the other hand, it is kind of fun, because I've actually been in meetings using our technology where I say, okay, here what were the sales projections for Q1 of last year? And it figures it out. And it says, okay, Q1 last year in this region, blah, 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 this was the numbers. Or I can say, hey, it's hot in here. Can you turn the air down or whatever, fix the air, or turn the lights down. Sure thing. The light goes around and lights go down, and it works for us. But the problem there is that what should this thing listen to and what should it not listen to? Should it listen to personal conversations? If we're in here having a conversation before the meeting, should it be listening to that? Should it be listening afterwards? If I'm saying something that is proprietary, or if I'm saying something that is personal, should that thing be allowed to record that and send it to Amazon? Our technology is more connected to Amazon, but should that be able to send it back to the owner of that company, back to the employer? Should it be able to take the stuff that we're saying and we're having a conversation about and send it back? I mean, this is stuff that it should be doing, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not going to be able to have an NDA with our little device and say, okay, well, you're under NDA, so don't be, sending my proprietary information back to anybody. But there's nothing stopping it. There's no rules or anything in there that's going to prevent that from happening. But again, it does, for me, it's exciting because when we do get there and we can answer those questions about what should it do and what should it not, it opens up a lot of opportunities. It just makes the world, for me, an exciting place. I look forward to the future of having those capabilities. But without somebody going in and doing research and deciding, what the ethics should be around those things, as an example, self-driving cars. Researchers are constantly under the discussion and the debate about, should my self-driving car, if I'm about to have an accident, should I protect the passengers? Or should I just go ahead and mow down the pedestrian that walked in front of me and should have been there in the first place? For people, that's a hard decision to ask. For me, I mean, again, I don't want to be driving because I don't want the responsibility of, should I run this guy over or should I run into the wall over here and hurt the people in the car? But again, it's a difficult question to ask of people. How do we program that into a device, into our Echoes or into our cars or into our water bottles? But again, it is kind of exciting that we're going in this direction, and I do look forward to what's going to be next and what guys like yourselves and people like yourselves are actually going to be doing. I'm sure a bunch of you, if you're in here, you have some sort of interest in artificial intelligence. I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to see what you have, that you're working on or would like to work on, or what I want to pick your brain and just see, because it excites me. I want to know what's going to be next, because I want to know, what can I look forward to in the future? What can my grandkids look forward to in the future? What is it going to be? What are they going to be doing? And I've seen it just change so much over the years already. I mean, I've been doing this stuff for 30 years, and over the last 3 decades, I have touched on every form of artificial intelligence that you can imagine. I've tried to build my own strong AI, and I'm still working on it. If you don't know what strong AI is, it's basically the equivalent of human intelligence but in a machine. A lot of people call it super intelligence, which is sadly something that we don't really see anywhere else, or any kind of intelligence for that matter. That scares me. But again, it can be exciting, just depending on what your perspective is. So, like I said, all the companies that I've ever met, every company on the planet, they have an AI problem. And it's not the technologies, it's always the people. The people are the ones that, they're the ones that's controlling this stuff. They've been brainwashed by Hollywood. They're seeing these movies like I, Robot, Ex Machina, and Terminator, and that's what they're thinking is going to be capable of, or what's going to be possible. They think that's what we can do today. We can't do that today. I wish we could, but we can't. It's the fact. So they're misunderstanding these technologies because they're thinking that, okay, well, all I need is this neural network that can do all these fancy things, and it can dig through my database and magically generate these new product ideas. It's not as simple as I made it out to seem earlier. It can be, because the technologies that are out there today, you can go on GitHub and you can download PyTorch or TensorFlow or whatever, and the technologies, click on this thing, you can actually download an image, put it on an SD card, plug it in, and now you have all the machine learning capability right there. It's running on the GPU, and it's runs your neural networks. It'll actually pick what algorithms you need. Do you need a neural network or do you need something else? But the technologies are becoming so ubiquitous that anybody can do this. Again, you don't need servers, you don't need to buy fancy hardware, you don't need to do any of that stuff. You can just run it on the computer that you have already. Again, we all think we have this stuff figured out. I know we don't, but we are working on it. I'm trusting that you guys will also be working on it. I hope you do. I hope you find other people, know other people that's doing this stuff. But the cool thing is that as you get into this, there are all kinds of good things you can do. I mean, you can dig in dirt and find out, how to grow crops if you're into climate change. You can do that using AI technology. We're doing it, so and anybody else can. You can do it for entertainment. You can do it for manufacturing. You can do it for social media. You can do it for news. Artificial intelligence is one of the very few technologies that can touch every industry and disrupt every industry out there. Every single one of them. There's not a single industry I've seen so far that cannot be entirely disrupted by this. And the cool thing is that all you have to do is just basically put your mind to it and say, all right, I have this idea, I'm gonna go build it. Do it. Go build it. Download the stuff off of GitHub or wherever and plug it up and run it and see what you can come up with. And if you like me, you like to contribute back to open source. Stick it back out on GitHub and let somebody else do it. Let them play with it, let them figure out something else to do with it. And as you do this, don't be afraid to make money off of it. There's a lot of money that can be made by doing this kind of stuff. And again, you can come up with one single little idea on whatever, agriculture, manufacturing, self-driving cars. And when you come up with that one idea, you put it out there, go after the VCs or go after anybody else and say, hey, I want some money for this. Or just put it up for sale yourself. Put it online and sell it. You're gonna make money off this stuff. So it's a really good incentive that, to get involved in this kind of thing. So I'm being flagged down over here, and we're out of time. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. Again, I would like to have some discussions with you guys if you would like to discuss any of this and talk about artificial intelligence. Share your ideas, share your thoughts about where you think it's going. If you have a different opinion about anything I said or everything I said, by all means, tell me. Tell me that you disagree with it. Tell me that you think the AI is going in a different direction. And we'll have a conversation. So with that, again, thank you for joining me here today. Thanks for listening to me ramble, and that's it.
Are you taking questions while you're
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah.
I was going to be something after everybody was like reading everything like that. All right, so I hear obviously we're in a class, we're learning about artificial technology, about artificial technology every Friday, and